Hey, Nick.
Hello.
Thank you for meeting with me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about aviation.
Sure. Aviation is, in my opinion, the best pathway. And there are three primary goals. The first of which is to prepare people to become safe and proficient drone pilots operating in the national airspace system. Second is to have a good time. We get to fly drones all day, which is not a bad thing. Unless, of course, we are not meeting weather requirements, or it's just really cold, like today. And the last one is for students to be able to get their commercial certification to become drone pilots within the per the FAA, be able to make money and do some really cool things and become professionals.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing to do in aviation?
Oh boy. I think to make learning applicable. It's a lot of times, I think in so many of our classes throughout education, it's all theory and more theory. And it's not often we're able to make things applicable. And so whether or not I think there's two things in particular that I think are really cool. One is right now is weather starting to turn in northern Colorado, and oftentimes our falls are beautiful and weather is good. And now we just saw our first snow. We're starting to see a lot more clouds. With clouds, we're seeing fog and precipitation, and temperatures kind of getting closer together. And so when we talk about weather, we're able to just go outside and experience it to make some of the theory and application just complement each other, and to be able to see it and feel it and experience it. And also, I set up a yearly experience for our students with the Experimental Aircraft Association out of Greeley-Weld Airport, where all of our students get to go up and fly a small airplane with a licensed pilot.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's the best morning. It's a Saturday morning. And all of the things that we learn about with aerodynamics and how to control airplanes with our flight simulators. And it makes that learning real. And so it's always a good time. There's never a bad time when you're up in a small airplane.
Yeah.
Never.
No, that sounds incredible. That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
What would you, for people that don't know what aviation is, how would you explain it?
In what context?
If a high schooler was trying to figure out what they were trying to do, how would you explain it to them?
I would say a lot of the context is to learn about the industry, and most people think of piloting, so flying planes. We primarily fly drones, but also we have the flight simulators, and we get that experience, like I previously mentioned, where students get to fly small airplanes. But it's just learning about the industry. And there's a lot of jobs that are coming up with unmanned aerial systems, which is a fancy word the FAA uses for drones. And I think I read something recently where we only know 25% of the potential uses for drones. I mean, if you look at anything now, it's finding ways to use drones as taxis to be able to put people in them and then get to different places. Technically, they wouldn't be drones anymore because they'd be crewed. That's besides the point. But you just learn about the industry. When you hop in a plane out of Denver and you're flying to who knows where, it doesn't matter. And you look out the window and you see these signs, and it's you're taking all these different taxiways, and then to go into the airplane, and then to get to the runway, and then you're going down the runway, and plane pulls back, lift starts to generate, and there's something really I don't know, just really cool to be able to look out the window and just have an understanding with looking at the signs and knowing what the signs mean. And it's like, here's where we are, here's where we're going. The runways, where runway numbers come from, and then just the experiencing the four forces of flight and like having the thrust and the lift. I know, it's just really neat. And so it's, yes, there's all the things on like the proficiency for drone piloting, but also just learning about the industry. And there's so many avenues that you can go down, whether or not you want to continue and be a private pilot. There's probably 70% overlap from 70% of the information we know and learn for the commercial drone test with the FAA is on the private pilot. And so there's a lot of balance there. That's nice. You also have to know that stuff if you don't want to fly, to go into air traffic control. Or if you just love being around airplanes and aviation, then just whether or not you were to end up going and being a baggage handler or someone that drives the pushback plane for the cars where you're locked in there with ground transportation at the airport, or you're de-icing planes, or TSA, which is, security. There's just so many other, or aviation mechanics, right? If you're interested in being a mechanic, but like to be around airplanes, I mean, airplanes have strict mandates that they have to follow to be able to stay airworthy. And so there's so many jobs, and just, I don't know, planes are cool. And like the idea of flying, right, wasn't really a thing like 300 years ago. So we've only been flying for such a small portion of humanity.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting and cool and fun, and it's way more long-winded than I intended.
Yeah. That's crazy how like so many like jobs are connected. Like, it's like a maze kind of. Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to go down like every small airport, Greeley. Greeley is an interesting airport. There's no control tower. So most airports in the United States do not have a control tower. But a lot of people fly in, go to the restaurant, and then go back to their plane and go fly. And in aviation, we call that the $100 burger. This $5 burger, but $95 worth of fuel.
Yeah.
But it's just going places and flying, and it's fun. So there's restaurants, there's general jobs. If you look at businesses around airports, a lot of businesses center and work around airports for travel purposes or cargo. If you were interested in or like interior design, there's a massive industry for private jets where planes are getting designed to meet the needs of high-end clientele. And so you could be an interior designer for planes. Like the list goes on and on and on and on.
Like including like I'm in culinary in Futures Lab, and like I could cook for like someone on a plane.
Yeah, you can prepare food for it. Right? International flights or even some longer domestic flights, or some of those private flights where you have that. Yeah, there's everything.
Yeah. That's crazy. Is there anything that like anybody else would want to know, do you think?
Oh boy. I mean, for the drones, most people think of quadcopters. And in terms of the quadcopters, we have, I think it's fair to say we have one of the nicest and most comprehensive drone fleets for any K-12 program in the country. We just purchased 2 new aircrafts that I'm getting ready to have them prepped and register. One of them being the DJI Mavic Air 3, which is the newest drone that DJI, which is the main manufacturer for drones, has created. So we have that, which is really, really fun. It's a great aircraft, and the camera and video capabilities, everything withstanding is fantastic. So we have that side, which I think is great. We also build fixed wing drones to be able to really see a lot more of how does like how do they work, how do they fly, which are basically just RC planes. But there's a lot of uses for those types of drones as well, and to be able to kind of see and experience that. So it's just having a wide array of experience.
Yeah. Do you stay in the Futures Lab area, or do you go on field trips or anything like that?
Yeah, we do all sorts of trips with experiences, and so it kind of just depends on where we are. Colorado State, which is just down the street from us, they have the CSU Drone Center that I work really closely with, and they operate a retired airstrip about 5 minutes from our location here at Poudre High School. And so we go there and fly often. They recently hosted the Colorado Drone Air Show, which was a first of its kind air show. Normally, when you think air shows, you think the Blue Angels and planes and just really cool stuff like that, or like Oshkosh. But they had and hosted a drone air show, which was a lot of fun. A lot of our students volunteered for that. So we were pretty involved in that experience. I work somewhat closely with, and we learn from first responders such as Fort Collins Police Services. So how does law enforcement and public safety utilize drones? Windsor Fire, the main drone operator there, is a fantastic resource. And I get a lot of our students involved with organizations such as Women in Aviation, Young Eagles, the meetings with experimental aircraft associations. And so just different things to be able to get learners connected, especially our young women. This semester we have our highest population of young women, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Because often I think United Airlines, 4% of their pilots are women, which is a massively small number.
Yeah.
Their goal is to double it. And I forget the amount of years that they say, but to double it, which sounds great, but that's still only 8% of pilots for United Airlines being women. And so there's just this massive amount of money for people, millions of dollars to get the private pilot's license and to just continue on with all of the ratings to get the commercial certificate. And there's probably a little bit more so for women in particular to make it more diverse and to bring access and equity to all populations. And so that's really exciting to see. And so just connecting people to where it's just so important to be seen and to know that you're not alone, especially when you hop on that Southwest or United flight. You look in the flight deck and you go, oh, it's two old white dudes. And so just getting connected and seeing things and doing things, and any opportunity I have to make that learning real and applicable with talking to people and going out and experiencing things, then yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. I also feel like if little girls that go on planes with their family and they see a girl in the cockpit, like a woman in the cockpit, they'd feel like, oh, I could do that too.
Yeah.
And then we would get way more women in the industry, hopefully. Yeah,
it's life-changing. It's I think about one of the students that's in aviation right now, and went to a Women in Aviation event that I got her linked up with recently. And there was a Southwest pilot who's a woman, and talked about her experience going through flight training and being a professional pilot. And she came back and said, there was a Southwest pilot there, and it was the first time that I saw myself in this industry. And it was just how cool. And oftentimes we just don't realize how impactful a lot of those experiences are, right? Where we think of gender-defined roles, right? Like men are pilots, women are flight attendants, and it's just couldn't be so far from the truth. And we're, I think, doing a lot of progress in the aviation industry of scholarship dollars and making really intentful decisions, like United trying to double those numbers. I would say it's not enough, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think programs like this to be able to, I don't know, learn something that you just wouldn't learn before, whether you experience it, realize, yes, this is what I want to do in life, or you go, this is cool, I'm good. And then you don't pursue, which I think is equally fine.
Yeah.
But it's just opportunity in just something different, right? Like to graduate, you have to take English classes and math classes and science classes and PE and whatever else. And I don't know, we fly drones and you get to experience flying a plane, and just how fun is that?
Yeah, that sounds so fun. Thank you so much for meeting with me today, Nick.
Yeah.
I hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.